to Dana that, I would much rather, hit a topic and maintain some intensity and call it at 6:40, about a 40-minute visit, rather than try to go. What are the other sports doing, Dana? An hour and 15 minutes or so?
It kind of varies. They've been going anywhere between 45 minutes and 2 hours, just depending. But the 2 hour ones are generally like film breakdowns of a whole game. So you
Yeah,
do not have
I
to go
think
2 hours.
especially if
I'm long-winded, Rusty. Sorry.
there you go. But it's I do want to show some respect for other people giving up their time to do this. So we'll try to bang it out here and maintain some decent intensity and then go about our business. I didn't get a chance to say hi personally to everybody. You guys look well. I mean, I hope that everything's well and happy with your families and that you're dealing with this insanity, the best way you can. I know Nate and I had a good conversation this afternoon about sometimes we take for granted being able to go to work, and hopefully that'll return for a lot of us sometime soon. When we started putting this together, it occurred to me that a lot of the clinic type situations that I've witnessed in my time start at page 1 of the rule book and go to the index and just kind of a straight through. And I don't know that really allows anybody to hone in on the particulars. So my decision, if we're going to do 3 sessions, my decision was to take a look at wrestling in the 3 positions that dominate most of our time on the mat, starting with the neutral position, and then June 1st we'll take a look at either top or bottom. I haven't quite made that decision yet. And then June 15th we'll take a look at the one that's left there. So I hope that makes some sense to most people.
Just real quickly, Rusty, I'm going to butt in and then I'll shut up for the rest of the night. I want to welcome everybody to the first of our wrestling webinars. As you read in the email, we've actually been doing these in a number of sports. Wrestling is now, I believe, our 6th sport that we're doing this in, and I appreciate Rusty's willingness to jump on and be the instructor for the wrestling webinars. One of the things that we're really trying to do is just keep people connected with officiating in this lull. We know everybody has a passion for it, and we're trying to just stay engaged and connected. And really, it started with some football officials who kind of missed each other, and I think they were a little bored, so they wanted to talk football and stay involved with it. So we've expanded it and are just really making it as officials driven as possible. And if we can help get speakers, we will. But if not, then we just leave it in the hands of the officials. So those of you who are on tonight, I really do appreciate your time and your willingness to continue to work to master your craft as wrestling officials. And as we mentioned, as we were kind of getting started, we have everybody on mute. If you have a question or conversation, you can go ahead and unmute yourself, or if you're shy, which I don't think anybody on this webinar is, you could just type it in the chat and I'll alert Rusty if there's a chat message. And if you look at the bottom of your screen, you can see where the little chat area is. So feel free to utilize this. But Rusty, thank you. And everybody who's on tonight, thank you for your time. And I'll let Rusty get to the meat and potatoes of this.
All righty. Well, thank you. And once again, I'm seeing only the presentation. I cannot see your faces and I cannot see the chat. But so if you just make a noise, I'll hesitate wherever we are and we can stop and do what needs to get done. I think the methodology will unfold itself as we're going along here. You'll see on the screen now, just as with everything in officiating any sport, but certainly in wrestling, we have to look at the application of each rule and outcome and scenario from both of these vantage points. There's where we are on the mat and how we're facilitating our own vision, our position and our mechanics, how we're communicating with all of the other stakeholders, with the athletes that are on the mat with us, the coaches that are a little bit more distant, our table and scorer timers that are yet a little bit more distant perhaps, and Granny up there in the top shelf. And then we have to take a look at that second big point there, which I really think, drives especially a group as notable as the people we have together tonight, the depth of experience, philosophy that's in this group tonight is pretty overwhelming. And so everybody's got their little tiny things, but our philosophy and application is really kind of the glue that holds everything together in the final outcome of it all. So looking at wrestling in the neutral position, and you can view it from wherever you are and consider where you are in the match that you're seeing in your mind. But we can just be starting the first JV match of a dual meet, or we can be have somebody having made the choice to have an opponent in neutral in the third period of the state championship with a tied score. So just a quick rundown, and I'll zip through this. I did build this just in case, Dana and group, that we had newer, less experienced folks join us. But if you guys just run through your bullet points there, I mean, obviously the first thing that we might see would be successful scoring. So again, if you go back to that earlier slide, you've got what the rule says, and then you've got your philosophy and your application therein. We also, and thinking about some of the stuff that I've seen as I was preparing this, our mechanics alter just ever so slightly when we get a takedown that goes to immediate danger. And certainly we'll come back to that in a few minutes. And if anybody's got comments or suggestions on mechanics, I'm happy to listen to the people that are assembled here. Lots of what ifs, lots of snap downs, lots of bad shots, lots of stuffed shots, lots of things that might have been but never produced. I think in the last decade of scholastic style wrestling, both at the university and high school levels, this has become a real good argument. How do we manage the scrambles that we're seeing in modern wrestling? Here's our ugly S word, and we may see some of this in the short video clips that were put together for tonight, but it's certainly a consideration, as is this. And we've seen definitions change just over the last few years about the difference between stalling and fleeing. Personally, I'm a big fan of what NFHS did last year to help us delineate more clearly between stalling and fleeing the mat or fleeing the hold. Go through your storehouse there and think for a minute about what fouls, what illegal situations might we see from neutral. It's a different toolbox than what we think we might see from an advantage, disadvantage position. I know you're thinking of some right now. And probably on the way to that, what situations, and if we look back at the scramble, what situations are presented to us as referees that could be deemed potentially dangerous? The one that I did not get in there, but I guess I would bundle it with failed attempts, would be the stalemate situation from neutral. I don't think anybody's, quibbling about definition of what control is. I hope I've got a couple of things that you'll see here in a few minutes, that'll really, make the hair stand up on the back of your neck about what is control versus what's not. And this is one of those things that is constantly evolving within the sport. If you look at the changes that have gone on in scholastic wrestling, just in this decade, with especially the scrambles that we see, the contrast between university wrestling, where we need to be responsible to a riding time clock, and high school wrestling, where I always kind of joke around, but control in an early adolescent male is not really a thing. Our female athletes, whole new idea there. But and that's what this is a bias. That's what I think makes women so easy to coach compared to men sometimes, is this definition of control. And then our nemesis, and I chose the word diagnosing. Maybe I should have chosen the word applying. I don't know. Certainly we've seen some of our colleagues that do diagnose stalling, but they're cowards or can't really get themselves bundled to be able to apply stalling calls that do what they're supposed to do. A stalling call is supposed to improve the wrestling, not punish, but improve. So anyway, those are the things that I believe we're up against. Here's first video. I hope everybody's seeing that, and I'll enlarge it after I get it rolling. See what you make of this. And I do have the sound muted on these. If you feel like interjecting during the match, feel free. What I kind of thought was that we would see it and then go back and pick it apart a little bit. Jot some notes down or mentally note some things that you're seeing there. This is the Arkansas State Championship, and I can't tell you what year.
It said 2018.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's in the logo there, isn't it? It's a good thing that wasn't a snake. Details are really important to officiating, Dana.
I'm good at details, but can't help you with anything when it comes to wrestling.
Yeah, I sat right here and looked right past that logo. All right. Anybody feel like speaking up about what you saw in there?
So he had his hands up above his waist, both legs controlled. I thought he had control even with the crotch lock. I would have given him 2.
Anybody else?
I personally think it was the right call due to the crotch lock.
Yeah, I thought it was 2 once he hooked the leg and went high on his body above of the waist. I anticipated that would be control.
I had stalling red and then takedown red.
Mhm.
In that part, 2 shots, then around the waist takedown.
Yeah, that's what I counted. I counted 3 shots, still nothing. The guy was backing up, or not backing up, but just wasn't doing anything. And then I had the takedown, and then we had a stalemate.
early in the sequence, was anybody aware of contacts from the kid in silver to the head of the kid in red?
Didn't notice.
Okay. If we get a chance here, I'll run back, David, and play it again. I thought someone would bring that up. Jet, was that you that went stalemate?
I didn't say stalemate. I just said I thought the call was good. I don't know that I would have awarded 2 due to the crotch lock myself.
Yeah, and it's, I'll tell you straight up, I believe that if I look long term, I really want to side with you on that. I don't know if you guys have tools with you or not, but in the last 3, 4, 5 years, there's been a lot of attention given to this. And there's a picture number 25 on page 67 of the rule book that does define this as a takedown. And it says specifically in that picture, the crotch lift does not stop the takedown by the wrestler in the light uniform in this picture. So at Hammer, I think, looking at it, I saw the same thing that you did. Kid did step in and step over. I believe at some point in time, a stalemate makes a bad situation look better than it was. And you know what? If you stalemate it earlier and put them back up, I really don't have a problem with that. If you award the takedown and then go stalemate and put the guy in silver down, I really don't have a problem with that. Mondo, I did think that somebody was gonna warn red for stalling, the kid in the red uniform for stalling in that first, whatever it was, 30 to 40 seconds. The thing that backed me off of that just a little bit was watching this contact to the head. We should be seeing the same video again here. Yeah. And again, this interpretation has been strengthened just in the last few years. There's your first shot that you counted. That one's not bad. That one was pretty good. Not too bad. That one was pretty good. That may have been the opportunity right here to blow the whistle and just give a friendly warning and say, look, it's I don't mind you going to the headgear, but not straight in the face. So I'm not sure, Mondo. I would never argue with anybody calling stalling on the red kid. I don't know how many seconds elapsed before he got that shot off. Right there's probably the 2. I think you saw his left foot step over and scoop.
There and then right there.
Rusty, I think his hands came unlocked
Right
too.
He did post that right hand back and relock on it.
Yeah.
Like I said, whoever it is that did not call the takedown on that, I could support that all day long, but you got to stalemate him and put him back somewhere that makes it look better than it looks right now.
I just unlock it. I'll unlock it back. All right.
Did
And that
anybody
was-
second
that was
time
the-
through? Go ahead.
That was the first 30 seconds of that match, right?
Yes.
So why did they stop it at the edge? Did he award 2?
I think that was in the backside brackets, and I think that was a 1-minute period, and we saw all of it.
Okay, I got you.
So second time through, did anybody besides me take note of the contact to the head?
So Rusty, I noticed the head, but he took shots with it, right? So I can't really physically see if he popped them back. But that's like when you verbally talk to him while they're still wrestling, right? I would have probably said, hey, be careful with the head or something. But he also took shots after he approached the head, right? He wasn't just hitting his head. He also actually took shots off of that move, off of that situation.
I was kind of in the same thinking there, Willie. I saw it more of a setup myself.
But not being there physically, I don't know how hard he hit him, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I see what Rusty's saying, but I mean, he also took a shot. He wasn't just hitting him in the head, you know, he kind of did use that for the shot.
I saw exactly the same thing you saw, and I would not call that, but it is, and what we're doing here as far as just staying modern, that has, agree with me, please, that has been a point of emphasis now for the last 2-3 years. There's been a slight change in the interpretation of where we make contact with that head. Coach Owen, are you still on?
I'm here, Rusty.
Do you have any perspective on that?
You've seen it more at the collegiate level with that hands to the face. I just finished my 4th year on the rules committee, and we honestly haven't spoken about it a ton as far as the hands to the face. I think you saw kind of an overkill that first year at the collegiate level, and then they backed off and kind of came to something more practical. But again, anytime you're using hands right to the face without any attempt, but even that, Rusty, I think you make a point that even hands to the face is a setup. You can't just slug a guy and then shoot a shot. I probably would be in agreement. I didn't see it the first time around. Wasn't paying attention, and the video's a little grainy. But yeah, having seen it the second time around, that might have been a chance, because he did pop him 5, 6, 7 times. Maybe just an opportunity to say, hey, be careful with the hands in the face. But as far as the high school level compared to the collegiate level, it just hasn't been quite as big a point of emphasis as it has at the collegiate level.
Yeah, and I don't think I would ever make a call there. Just attempting to stay in sync with modern rule application. There was a break in there with no contact between the two athletes, where I would have been really tempted to stop the match, bring them back to the center, and do the finger wag thing, so that, again, in my communication with coaches, in my communication with table workers and with audience, if it gets to a point that we watched the first period, if it gets to the point somewhere along the way in a 5 or 6 minute match where there's something about these two individuals that's baggage that we don't know about, I would like to have that finger wag verbal warning in my pocket. All right, we'll let that one go. Does anybody else have anything, or do you want to see that one again? Okay, take a look at this. Same tournament. Just a really good referee most of the time. I think we need to get used to watching wrestling with the sound muted because we might be in empty stadiums. All right, we'll go back to that here in a second, but. All right. Anybody, what'd you see?
Saw a definite stalemate. The situation there at the beginning of a possible potentially dangerous.
Having a little bit of trouble hearing you.
There at the start, I could have seen a possible stalemate, and then as he let it continue, a potentially dangerous, the way that kid was pulling on that toe, putting that pressure on that knee.
I agree with that.
Did it? Well, I'll get to it here in a second.
I thought there was no trouble.
Was that Paul that was talking about being down on the toe?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's something that I think, you know, in all positions of wrestling, we need to really be working on, especially our guys that are going from good to great. You know, I may not expect, you know, the brand newbie, you know, to see something like that, but the guys that are going from good to great, you know, when you're on that foot, you know, I want you to be on all of the laces, and I will announce on the mat, not on the toe, you know, as preventative officiating. Did it surprise anybody that it was the third period? It might have changed the color of the Kool-Aid on the officiating, do you think, in terms of the stalling reference up there at the top? I haven't seen the score clock. It might be right in front of me, and Dana's going to tell me in just a second. But I do know this was in 2018 now.
Are we in the third period here? Sorry, I just joined back in. I had.
Yeah, we watched this as if it was the first period. Is that Jet?
Yes.
And then all of a sudden we get to the next break. And the kid that's on his head right now, the kid in the white earth singlet, gets his hand raised. So we are in the third period, and I wish I knew if anybody was riding a warning on this. I'm wondering if there was a warning. The guy's got to be up by 3 because the kid in gold does end up scoring a takedown, and it might be right sometime soon here. Might be just a second ago. There's another comment in that pictures section say that hanging on to a leg is not enough to prevent a takedown. But that appeared to have been either a PD or a stalemate call there. I don't think anybody disagrees that if there has not been a warning, by now, there should be.
Rusty, would you agree to call potential right there when he was pulling that knee to the side there?
Yeah, I would have called it when he first went to the toe.
Yeah.
Now, if we go back to that slide earlier about both our philosophy and how it dictates our mechanics, you know, I make no bones about it. I believe that our two best friends as referees are potential danger and stalemate. because neither one of them do any damage to the score, but they both get us out of an ugly situation. I could have stalemated that early. I could have called it potentially dangerous early, you know, and I don't know if the kid won by 1 or, you know, it would seem to me that he had to have been up by 3 there. Okay, when I watched
He
that
gave up
for
a takedown still.
yeah, when I watched that for the very first time, I thought we were watching the first period, and I was like, "Come on, dude! You know, you got to do something here in the way of stalling."
Hey,
Okay.
Rusty, I just had a question. On that toe hold, you give a warning, the kid doesn't release. Can you, as the ref, actually knock his hand off the foot? Because you don't want to the offensive wrestler to, you know, have a disadvantage of starting over when he's had a good shot.
David, there was a time in my career where I would have slapped that in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
And you and I shared that time together. Okay,
Mhm.
I would not slap it in this day and age, because the converse of what you're saying is absolutely true. If I reach up there and slap it off, and it makes the difference in me scoring 2 points because I took him off of that,
Yeah,
I think I've got something to answer to the other coach there.
right. But if you don't, and the guy continues to hold, how would you deal with that? You wouldn't stop the match, would you?
I would.
Would you? Yeah,
In a heartbeat. I would blow a whistle and put him back into true neutral.
Yeah. Yeah, and that seems to be a disadvantage to the guy who's shot, who's already in there, and the guy just hangs onto a toe and gets to start over. You know what I mean?
I do. I understand completely.
Yeah.
But if I'm the other coach, I'll make an argument that my kid's in pretty decent position right here.
Yeah.
He's doing what we teach him to do right here. He's got his hips down. Yeah, here's your stalemate.
Yeah.
Anybody disagree?
No, I would agree with that.
Okay, now it got different right there is potentially dangerous.
Just a minute. Hold on.
Okay.
Yeah, you would stop that right there.
Ugh.
Was anybody thinking that he might figure 4 the head right there or scissor the head?
I was just looking for that.
Yeah, you know, this could be a scramble. He's got to get that above his head. That might have been 2. That might have been 2.
Right there.
Oh, that knee. Jeez.
Two and 2 back points.
No 2 back. That was he rocked him up there, but he didn't hold him for a 2 count.
Yeah, you're right.
He just scored in freestyle. Okay, so somewhere along the way, I don't think anybody's got a big beef with either of those, do you?
Nope.
And by the way, I am looking at the clock. It is 6:40. If you guys are comfortable, we started at about 6 minutes after. So we can take a look at one more here and then sum things up and wish you guys well.
Rusty, real quick, sorry. Like I said, I missed a little bit of it. Where was the stalling at there?
The kid in white was not this match, but the one we just watched.
Yep.
Never made, from my take, Jet never made any offensive gesture. And the kid in the gold, you know, was clearly, especially after we saw that it was the third period, the kid was clearly in whatever defined his desperation mode. And we know now that he was down by at least 3. But I never saw Silver make any offense at all.
And like you and I have talked before, you really have to take that period into consideration, right? Knowing where we're at.
And that's the reason I selected that particular video, is that we have to be honest with ourselves that time management does change the color of our Kool-Aid. You know, we don't know what that kid in white or silver did in the first 2 periods that got him ahead. He might have had a great performance for 2 periods and just protecting a lead. That might have been the finals of the state tournament. I don't know. Okay, but something about it changed. And I'm saying all that as we're watching this. I don't want to burn too much of your time. Is this kid in the white green with the S on the side from Shaker, Ohio? Is he, just helpless, or is he fleeing the map?
He's not doing much.
Well, and you look at the other kid too. I mean, this is in a dual meet, but the only thing that could make this a match is 2 pillows.
Yep.
But we'll get into that what if screen. Is there a stalling call in here somewhere? I don't know that I could go fleeing the mat. That finishes with a whizzer in. So, and that was the end of the first period.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think somewhere along the way, as helpless as the kid is, you got to bang him for stalling somewhere right around the minute mark in that period. But I don't know, if this is a state championship match between 2 great athletes, I can go with a fleeing call there, but not with these 2 poor helpless individuals. Time ran out, and the kid still had a whizzer in, so we know that there was no takedown. Okay, so here's a referee somewhere in small town Ohio that probably knows where he is and who's competing that night. He's got to set his pace. That was a lightweight match. He's got to set his pace for what he's going to do with stalling in the 170, the big guys. So maybe there's a reason he didn't call stalling. And that's back to that philosophy and mechanics thing. We've got to be responsible at times for 14 matches in a dual meet. And depending on what weight we start at, we've got to color that Kool-Aid for how we're going to call stalling tonight. So we're going to save this other stuff for our next meeting. I know you guys got a chance to glance through this. I just celebrate, what's happening in terms of the modernization and diversity and the equity in our sport. I know that, and Coach Owen, please, if you get a chance, pass it along at least one old guy's compliments. This rules committee is really starting to advance the needs of high school athletes and their parents and coaches nationwide. They did a great job with this.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Rusty. There have been a lot of rule changes in the last 3 or 4 years, but it's always been aimed at, how can we promote the growth of wrestling. And you talk about the modernization. I think there were some barriers to participation that we are trying to remove, so we can get any and all folks involved with the sport of wrestling. So it's definitely a change. I think we still have some work to do. Sometimes I feel like, we're changing too much. But I think, as we always say, if it's always in the interest of growing participation, keeping the health and safety of the student athletes foremost, then we're in a pretty good direction. We may hit some stumbling blocks along the ways with some of the rule changes. But again, I think with that premise of the health and safety and the promotion of the sport in the forefront, we're moving in the right direction. We can always go back and take a second glance at some of those rule changes. But we have, in at least the 4 years that I've been on the rules committee, there have been a significant amount of rule changes, typically mostly aimed at the modernization of the sport. So hopefully we're moving in the right direction.
Well, it's noted and appreciated. Guys, if you want to take a look at our schedule here, we are scheduled again on Monday, June 1st, and then we'll go again Monday, June 15th. And we will, that decision got made while we were on tonight, work on wrestling from the bottom. Scott Copley, I know you brought a wonderful piece of video this evening that supports exactly what it was we were talking about, and I hope it got due attention. This is an invitation. If you guys run across some great stuff, I want to stay open and let this be you driven. Let me know what video you have stored, or what you're seeing, or what you want addressed, and we'll get it on the table. So I'm gonna shut up for a minute and listen to any questions, comments, needs, concerns from the group, and then Dana will turn it back over to you.
Sounds good.
I would just
Well
like to say
done.
thank you guys for this. I think it was really valuable, and I'm glad we could get together and discuss wrestling. I sure have missed it.
Anybody else for the good of the group?
No, just thank you, Rusty. Thank you, Scott and Dana.
This is a great idea, a good way to keep us all together and keep us focused, especially when we need it. So great job.
Hey, this is Nate. I just want to say thanks, Rusty, for stepping up and kind of providing the information. I know that in every sport, it's taken one or two officials to kind of step up and lead the charge. I know that Dana and I aren't always knowledgeable in every sport, especially wrestling. But we do appreciate the fact that you step up, and anything we can do to help on our side, we're definitely here for you.
Well, I appreciate you guys. I do have to tell you, especially if you look at the people that are on this webinar, this Zoom tonight, there's not a better group in the United States. And so I'm thrilled to be a part of the discussion. And please, I love you guys and appreciate you taking your time. Dana, it's all yours.
Thank you. Oh, that's loud. So I just wanted to say thank you again to everybody. We did record this, so if there's something you want to go back and look at, I'll send you the link with the recording on YouTube, and that'll be kind of the plan moving forward. Any of these we do will be recorded so that people who didn't get to watch it can go in, or if you want to review something, you're welcome to. Thank you again for attending, or is it attending? I guess it's attending when it's a webinar. It's great to see your faces, and as Elaine said, it's just good to stay together, get together and see each other and talk wrestling, but most importantly, it's a great way to make sure everybody's doing okay during these weird times. So I know it probably means that I need more hobbies, but I've really been getting a lot of enjoyment out of just spending evenings with the officials and seeing how everybody's doing. You all know that I'm big on officiating family, and this is part of why. So if there's suggestions that you have for Rusty or myself moving forward, we're open to this. We just wanted to get it off the ground, and Rusty, thank you for doing that. But if there's other topics we need to discuss or things that we need to add, or if you want to have more than 3 webinars, let us know that as well. We didn't want to be like, okay, let's have 5 sessions this week and overwhelm everybody. So just let us know what we can do. And it was great having you all on. And certainly I want to thank Scott Owen for his continued involvement with the officials. He's such a wealth of information. He's such an asset to wrestling in this state, and having him continually involved on the officiating side of things only makes me better. That's for sure. So thank you all again. Have a great night, and we'll reconvene in a couple of weeks, but feel free to shoot Rusty or myself or Scott emails with any suggestions or questions that you may have. Thanks again, Mr. Rusty Davidson.
Thank you guys. Love you. Ciao.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Appreciate it. What's up, Willie G? What's up, Mondo?
What's going on, dude?
I'm in your house, bro.
It's going, man. You guys?
Good. Hey, you didn't shave, bro. You need to shave the head, bro.
Willie, I can't see you. I just
I can't
faded
see
that
Willie.
up, man.
Willie,
Yes,
I
sir.
can't see Willie. Oh, there
I
you
got the
are.
light on, bro.
Yeah, you got the
Oh,
contrast.
I thought you had your video off, Willie.
¿Qué pasó, Mondo?
bro?
Willie, you got the contrast backwards, bro. Come on.
Okay.